to have some people that are like completely caught up in internet culture, writing about internet culture as internet culture strangles and drowns them. It's like actually like a kind of interesting from a performance art way of actually capturing the reality of this crazy whirlwind that is internet culture. I'm Cal Newport here with Jamie Kilstein for Cal and Jamie Explain the Internet. If you're new, the premise here is simple. I don't use social media, so I have no idea what's happening online. Jamie is weaning off of social media.
Yep.
He, too, has no idea about what's happening online, which makes us the two worst people in the world to try to explain up to the moment internet trends. So that, of course, is exactly what we're going to do on this show. We have 5 trends from the last week of internet culture that Jamie and I will struggle to understand and explain to you, our long-suffering audience. Jamie, this is our 2nd episode, so we're 1 episode in. How do you think we're doing with this experiment so far?
As people or as podcast hosts? Because as podcast hosts, I think we're killing it. As people, I had to glance at Twitter a couple times to kind of see what was going on. So I feel like while you don't know at all what's going on, this show also brings about a certain type of PTSD for me, who used to be engulfed in that culture. I thought we were short a story this morning, so I just I logged on to see what people were talking about, and Fire James Gunn was trending, and I kid you not, I had to scroll through 100 angry comic book fans to even figure out what was happening, what was even happening. And I still kind of don't know. I think the Superman thing got fired, and then James Gunn made a pedo joke like a decade ago. I have no idea. All I know is like I like Groot, and that's where my alliance is. It's with Groot.
So you're basically saying the first sponsors of this video series needs to be Groot, our personal therapist, and Groot. Yeah. Basically sponsored by our therapist, who we're going to have to see a lot more after doing this show, and then also Groot. Actually, ironically and coincidentally, my therapist looks a lot like Groot. So I don't know if that's a good or bad thing. I basically talk to a tree. This is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Cal has been drugged, is what's happening. Is he was drugged by a family member. He goes out into nature, talks to a tree. He comes back and he goes, "Oh no, I feel better." And then his wife goes, "Great." And then that's it.
His name is Solomon. I've carved the face into it. We have a good relationship.
This show, look, not to hype us up, but if you are new to the show, here's why it's great. You get to hear about the garbage that is happening on Twitter that people are consuming their lives with, and then you get to go outside and hear birds chirping and realize the world's actually an okay place. And I'm not saying the show is to make you feel better than them. I would love to say the show is about bringing people together, waging a war on tribalism, but also it's like kind of reminding me what I used to do and why I'm off it, and reminding you guys why it's probably better to read books and stay off Twitter. But if you're at a Christmas party this week and someone's like, "Man, James Gunn," right? You can at least be like, "You stupid idiot," and know what they're talking about. Exactly.
It's the way I describe it on my podcast. The episode that's coming out around the same time as this one. I was explaining it to my listeners this show. And the way I said is I think there might be some benefit as well in othering internet culture. So when you hear 2 idiots that don't know anything about it trying to figure it out, it does kind of emphasize the absurdity of it all. So if you're really stuck in the middle of that world, maybe hearing me have no idea actually I know who James Gunn is, but I don't really know what you're talking about. Right. Just emphasizes a little bit. This is not the center of like world culture right now. It's its own weird thing that feels like everything when you're on the phone, but you step away for about 9 minutes. You spend some time talking to your tree therapist, and you're like, wait, there's more to life than this. At least so we're hyping ourselves up so much now, Jamie. Like we're awesome.
This is good. This is what my tree therapist told me to do. Wouldn't you rather go to see the new Superman movie and just be like, that was fun? I like Superman. He comes from Krypton. Instead of being the guy in your pack of friends that's like, when they were making this, James Gunn really said some problematic things, and I liked it better. You will never be invited to a movie again. Guys, 2 people I know died this week. 2 people I know died. The idea of living a life where you are engulfed in Twitter drama or just cursing about Glenn Greenwald. Like, live a life where you don't know who Glenn Greenwald is. Isn't that a better life? Again, no offense to Glenn, but isn't that a better life? Just go out and do real things with real people, and you realize that so much of this shit doesn't matter. With that said, me and Cal are about to dedicate an entire episode of a podcast to the shit we're making fun of, because we're hypocrites, and it's fun.
This is probably the wrong time to introduce our guest host, Glenn Greenwald. Come on in.
Glenn Greenwald, via satellite from Brazil with all of the dogs he's adopted.
Okay, we're going to have to start with explaining Glenn Greenwald, but let's get into it. We have... tell the audience, you can confirm you and I have not pre-discussed any of these 5 trending internet topics that we're about to go through.
No, the show is also affecting our friendship. We can't talk to each other. Correct.
Yes, I ignore you. Okay, here we go. I am going to click my magic button here. Item number 1. It's a tweet.
Okay.
For those who are listening, it says... this is ridiculous. Shame on FIFA for allowing him to touch, kiss, and hold the World Cup. Salt Bae, B-A-E, dropped salt on meat. What is he doing here? This is tweeted from someone named Terry Fleurs. Jamie, I have no idea what's going on here. What do we even know? Okay, this is trending.
It was trending a couple days ago. This was one of many. I mean, the outrage. I don't know who this guy is. I sort of, this is where our age is going to show. I sort of know what bae means. I believe bae, and our 16-year-old girl demographic, which is huge and mighty, they're going to be very mad that I don't have this right. I remember bae first coming out. I believe he was called Prison Bae, where there was a picture of this dude in jail. I don't know what he was in jail for, but he was, Cal, look at me, stunning. Like, he had these insane, like, turquoise eyes, and so they were like Prison Bae. So I think bae is what you would call your partner, kind of like boo or babe or whatever. So some point, people must have liked this guy. I've put together he has some kind of maybe cooking show or whatever. Right. Hence, he originally got the name Salt Bae.
Right.
But now, dude, people were so outraged. There were soccer players who refused to take pictures with him. He was going around, like, taking selfies with every player, and every player kind of looked annoyed. But I don't know how he got there. I don't know how he got famous. I don't know who he is. I do know what the World Cup is, and that's it.
So I've done a search for the name. So I'm showing on the screen now a Google search for Salt Bae. This Washington Post article, I think, maybe wins the award for, like, all internet stuff put together. It says, from Jared Kushner to Salt Bae, here's who Elon Musk was seen with at the World Cup. So that wins the award. So but here's the thing. Let's not figure out who this person is, because there's the broader point here, which is the World Cup was fun, right? Yeah. I mean, it was like this final game, and it was a tie, and they went to penalty kicks, and there's this Argentinian guy who's, like, having some redemption story of, like, leading up or living up to his promise as this super athlete. You look at Twitter, you look at this. This seems like this impulse of, I gotta have a negative take. If I don't have a negative take, no one was going to pay attention to me. No one's going to think I'm, smart. Why would you focus on this? Some guy touching the cup, when you could say this was, I just am happy this was fun. I watched it on Saturday. I had a good day.
I am in the trending topics right now. This has 11,000 likes. Salt Bae can kiss my ass, wanting all that attention and touching the cup. Who the fuck are you, bro? Your 2 minutes of fame of up. Next. Now, that is nothing compared to at Bill Corbett. Someone please give me Salt Bae's current assassination coordinates. Okay, so I believe me and Bill follow each other on Twitter. So mad. Now, it's like, I love your point, dude. Because I feel like even New trying to be off social media less, definitely trying not to be, or not being negative on social media, Jamie, looked at that and still was kind of like, oh, I wonder who this asshole is. Like, dude, I'm not part of outrage culture anymore. And my brain still goes there. And I'm also a really positive person. I'm always like, look on the bright side, whatever. And I am still so much getting over what social media does to your brain.
Yep.
That the idea of what you just said is advice I would give to anyone else in any other topic that is not on social media.
Right.
And I didn't even think about that.
I mean,
like, why does anyone even know that he was on the fucking field?
That's what I'm saying. That tweet thread or topic is like the Lionel Messi of outrage culture. It's like like a peak this is an incredibly skilled application of professional outrage to be able to find an angle. Like I can find an angle in this kind of feel good fun thing. I can find an angle to be upset with. Yeah, it's a little esoteric, but I can get whatever 10,000 likes. I mean, look, it's possible that like in the day leading up to the World Cup finals, this guy, Salt Bae, had said, look, to his local community, I am going to pay to gather for all of the children in the town. I'm going to pay for a bus. We're going to take them to the stadium. We're going to give them a World Cup experience. And everyone was happy. And they gathered the children in a bus. And they were like, thank you, Salt Bae. Thank you, Padre Bae.
Slowly locking the door to the bus.
Slowly locking the door to the bus. Yep. They're driving towards Qatar. They take the turn into the sea, drowning all the children. Okay, if that had happened.
Yep.
He shouldn't be touching the World Cup.
Let's say Salt Bae takes all the kids. He goes, hey, we're going to meet Messi. Aren't you excited? And they're like, hooray, hooray. Finally, something good in my life.
Bless you, Father Bae. Bless you. Yes.
Bless Father Bae, Father Bae. And then again, leaves the bus once again, slowly locks the door, calls over the government for Qatar and goes, I found a bunch of gay kids. Yeah. Go do what you do. Go Qatar him. And then he runs onto the field with his little autograph book, and he's like, it's me, Salt Bae.
And grabs the cup. Yeah, I get it. Then I would be upset. I would be upset.
What if Salt Bae, he is a person of color, but what if he took that cup and, he just wrote white power on it? Not good.
I would get it. Yeah. or
let's make that man trend on Twitter. Let's make the man who just homophobically had a bus full of children killed who just wanted to meet a soccer player.
Before, in an unrelated incident, writing white power on the World Cup. Mm-hmm. Okay, I get it. This is someone we should be upset about.
That should be a trending story.
That is appropriate outrage. All right, story number 2. Let's see what we got here. Chrome tabs. This is completely blind. All it says on my screen share here is Twitter. Tweet/Twitter.
Oh, yeah, all of mine, because, again, I don't have TikTok.
All right, here we go. For those who are listening, This is from Franklin Graham, blue check verified. Here we go. Franklin Graham is the president of Samaritan's Purse. Okay. Amy Grant announced that she and her husband, Vince Gill, are going to host a same-sex wedding on their farm for her niece. Amy is quoted as saying, Jesus, you just narrowed it down to 2 things, love God and each other. All right, this is another trending tweet. Is that right, Jamie? This was getting a lot of attention this week on Twitter.
At least here's the problem. If I go to check trending things because of the algorithm, it's only pro wrestling and fighting, mixed martial arts. So I just have to go to like what is overall trending. And this was indeed trending a couple of days ago. Now,
and Vince Gill, is that the Breaking Bad? Am I thinking of the right person? The creator of the show Breaking Bad?
Definitely not. Okay. That is Vince Gilligan. Vince Gill, I believe, judging by his name, I think he's a country music star.
That makes more sense, I suppose.
And Amy Grant, you may remember, because I assume, as my mom did, you took many car rides to your elementary school with her blaring Amy Grant. My mom was very big into Amy Grant, big into Celine Dion. Those were her jams.
All right, so let's look at some responses here. This will help clarify what's going on.
So the responses, I think, I didn't read the rest of Franklin's thing, but I'm looking at responses, and the story itself is just a story, and I think it's a good story.
This is about Franklin. Franklin is just the son of Billy Graham, so this is an evangelical Christian.
Oh, I didn't know that.
That
makes this even more interesting.
Because look at his it's a thread. What? He posts a story, but then the next thing Franklin Graham says is, yes, we are to love God and love each other, but if we love God, we will seek to obey his word. Jesus told us, if you love me, keep my commandments. John 14:15. God defines what is sin, not us. And his word is clear that homosexuality is a sin. Also, what the hell is Salt Bae doing at your wedding? That's his follow-up. That's his follow-up tweet right there. Okay, so this is like...
Hey, kids, you want to go to a wedding?
It'll be fun. There's definitely not boxes full of poisonous vipers that I will release in the bus once the doors are locked. So this is like old school. This is what this is training. Okay, so this is like old school, like anti-gay marriage, homophobia
back in
stuff.
the 90s, baby.
It's like retro icy. So there's sort of a... It's like a retro, what's the word? Like a retro hate type thing. So there's sort of like a nostalgia to this going around. Like, this guy looks old. I'm looking at a picture of Franklin Graham here.
We all remember Amy Grant, the baby. Like, yep. And then, we all remember Billy Graham. And here's the thing. Many people might not know this. And in fact, this is going to sound sarcastic. I'm Christian. And, I love that Amy Grant's doing this. And I think that, like, look, man, there's a lot of things in the Bible that are sins. You know what the biggest one is? Pride. Like, we do this shit every day. The whole point of, Jesus dying for our sins and whatever is being like, hey, we all fuck up every day. We're all sinners every day. How many of you waited until marriage to have sex? I know I didn't. Got me in a lot of trouble. We all do it every day. And the point is, we are trying to be a good person. The point is, we are trying to be better people every day. That's it. And if you are, this story, and I'm going to dunk on the left as well, is you'd also have people on the left who I'm seeing, they would repost this story and they'd be like, fuck you, Eve Christians. Screw you. Look what Amy Grant's doing. Look at all these little bitch-ass Christians, like, getting mad. And it's like, hey, man, Amy Grant's a bitch-ass Christian, and she's being awesome. If you're mad that a couple is getting married, you should reevaluate things.
Yep.
And also, if your first instinct isn't to be like, oh, my God, how awesome that this gay Christian couple isn't going to feel alone or not going to feel like they belong, and like you have this like person with a good voice and platform officiating her family members, by the way, family members' wedding, like that's a beautiful thing. If on either side your first instinct is like trash someone, I think that's rough. And also
that's Twitter. That's Twitter.
That's
what's
Twitter.
the angle? What's the angle? Either we can use this to push it in someone's face or attack. I mean, but let me say, here's the, there's progress in society. I think it's progress that you and I look at just the description of this story and we can't figure out why the hell this is trending. I think that's a good sign. I mean, I'm thinking like, so is this farm haunted? Right. Like where is this going? Is this like a murder farm? Like did it actually took some digging to be like, oh, it's Franklin Graham and it's a kind of like a retro like Christian thing. That's, the fact that wasn't obvious. That
Great
this would
point,
be,
Cal.
So that I'm trying to find some positive.
I haven't heard an Amy Grant song in a while. If it was Amy Grant came back from the dead to officiate a wedding at her haunted farm,
let's trend that. Let's trend that. Zombie Amy Grant.
Yeah.
Host wedding at haunted farm.
Attempts to perform ceremony with zombie limbs falling to ground and being sucked in by other zombies. Yeah, man.
I'm in.
It's a trending story. And hey, I want to talk, this story actually came up on my podcast, Advice Not Taken, and I used it as an opportunity to promote this. Because, I have been talking about religion, but in a sort of like feed the poor, help people kind of way. And when this came up, I was sort of reminded that a lot of people will use religion to discriminate or whatever, which is a real bummer. And I think to me, one of the things I said is, look, man, if you're a kid raised in a household and you're gay and you're being told that you're going to hell, you're being told that you're broken, you're being told that you can't be a Christian, worst case scenario, this kid is going to act out, self-harm, drink drugs, sleep with people you don't want them sleeping with, blah, blah, blah. But best case, if you really care about Jesus and religion and God, they're certainly going to turn away from that. I mean, I'm not gay, and despite what many of you have told me on the internet, and Twitter's so bad.
Sorry, next story. Gay. Okay, go on.
It is co-host of Cal and Jamie Explain the Internet Gay. And the reason I turned away from God was religion. I just saw shit like this, and I'm like, oh, is this the priority? I don't want to be a part of that. When your religion is so bad, it makes people be like, I don't want to get to know God, the maybe creator of the universe. It's like, you're fucking up, man. You should be prioritizing, whether it's on social media, whether it's religion, whether it's in your community. How do you prioritize lifting people up instead of just cutting people down, which is what social media is.
Which is I think a very good point, a very fair critique of Franklin Graham. If he's the son of the most famous Christian evangelist of the 20th century, he's an evangelical Christian, so that is a Christian with an imperative to save souls.
Yes.
How is there any sort of evangelism in that tweet? Like, that is entirely just dunking for the benefit of your existing audience. That's like, clap for me, I want more followers from people. I mean,
that's it.
What about that tweet would ever make you think this is definitely going to bring more people in? So I think your point's very well taken, that if you grow up and think religion is at the key to salvation in life, you would say, what I really don't want to do is find a way to like ensure my kid will not be religious, to like pick out one thing and harp on it in such a way that I've definitely driven that kid away from religion. I'm not an expert on Jesus, but it doesn't seem very Jesus-like.
Jeez.
All right,
people, if you're watching the video, my computer is about to die, and I'm just scrambling to plug it in really quick.
Next article here. Co-host of Cal and Jamie Explains the Internet. Computer almost dies. Worse than Salt Bay.
Gay co-host
of Cal and Jamie Explain the Internet has never seen a computer before.
Well, what's funny is, too, shout out to producer Jesse. Cal and I actually worked very hard to make it look better this time. Every show, by the way, you guys are just the hipsters who are going to remember when this show is huge. We really did work hard to fix it, and now I've completely screwed it up.
It looks good. Actually, this looks good. I think we got a good position here. All right. Well, in the meantime, I'm going to load up the next story. This one, I'm going to hope. I'm going to assume this next story is going to be more uplifting and make us feel.
Okay.
This for sure will make us feel better about ourselves and the internet. Here we go.
Let's do it.
All right. Meghan McCain. On the first night of Hanukkah, the anti-Israel New York Times issues a crossword puzzle that looks like a swastika.
There you go. Wait, keep reading the tweet because you have the Twitter sass.
Oh yeah. Can't make this shit up. We see you, New York Times. We see you.
Yeah, very, very
Swastika crosswords.
We see you, New York Times. We see you. It sounds like something you would hear at Amy Grant's haunted farm.
Yeah, we see you, devourer of souls. We see you as you emerge from the haunted hayloft. What? Okay, first of all, sound of loud sighing. I think we all just kind of agree with that. Is the idea here that the New York Times, there's people at the New York Times, they got together, like in a conference room.
Yes.
And we're like, okay, we all agree. We all agree that we hate Israel. Okay.
Yeah.
What we need to do is get the vague shape of a swastika in the paper.
Ooh, and can I chime in here?
Sure.
What would be the most hilarious day to do it on?
Yeah, and we need to wait till
isn't one of their weird holidays coming up?
And one of their weird holidays coming up. So we're gonna put a swastika in the paper in the hopes of
just secretly
encouraging Nazis. I mean, let's pull this thread.
You know what, fellas? We've talked about it a long time. The Washington Post, they're still really well known for Woodward and Bernstein breaking a lot of stories, and people are still kind of upset with us for the weapons of mass destruction thing. How do we make ourselves relevant again? Nazism?
We're going to be pro-Nazi. I mean, look, I am looking at this thing. You know, I see the what would you call it? The arms. It has like 2 out of the 3 pieces of the swastika arms, but it kind of falls apart when you would have the final piece. I'm giving this a lot of attention, Meghan McCain, and I see you have it's swastika-esque, but I think it's missing the key component.
Cal as an art connoisseur is saying he doesn't see it. Also, I feel like this is a bit of a Rorschach test kind of situation, which is like, if you see a swastika there, why are you thinking about swastikas so much? You know what I mean? Like, I would have never been like, there it is. There's my boy. There's a swastika. Like,
Yeah, I knew it.
I'm not looking for that. And also, look, even if the New York Times was indeed anti-Semitic or whatever, which pick your poison,
and let's be honest,
do the Jews run the media, or are they anti-Semitic? Which one is it?
And also, it's Will Shortz. It's not even like the New York Times writ large. It's like the nicest man in the world. Have you seen Will Shortz?
No,
I have watched a documentary. I have watched a documentary on Will Shortz and like how they make these crossword puzzles. I know a lot about Will Shortz. He looks like Calvin's father from Calvin and Hobbes. He has like a mustache. He's like a short, like Cappy looking Midwestern guy who does his entire life.
His answers to questions are about building character.
Yeah. And I guess he is the last person I guess you would assume is like that he's decided late in his career to secretly move Nazism into.
And also like, you know how people, when they realize that maybe they've been chasing superficial things for the first half of their life, they really dedicate the second half of their life to doing something altruistic. That's what Will Shortz did with Nazism.
Exactly. that's his second act. Here, I'm going to put a photo.
His second mountain. Yeah, as David Brooks, also New York Times writer, would say. Yeah, man, why?
Here we go.
Also, if can we just like be...
That's it.
The 2022's face of Nazism.
Yeah, he's like a guy with a mustache.
Yeah.
No one with a mustache has ever been associated with any sort of anti-Semitic behavior. So we're good.
Come on, guys. Guys. Get it together.
Can
I just say one more thing, though?
Yeah, please.
If we're just talking pragmatically, also, like, I don't want to get political, but like AIPAC, like the biggest like Israeli lobby, like they have bought ads and they have had full page ads in the New York Times, but also like pragmatically, even if they were a bunch of people who didn't like fucking Netanyahu or didn't like Israel or whatever, there are so many checks that you have to go through. You know this as a writer, right? That if anyone besides, I don't know if Meghan McCain was the one who like started the outrage, but if anyone, and I saw a lot of like blue check, respected people talking about, if anyone at the New York Times caught this, if an intern, if you're about to post anything that resembles a fucking swastika, I feel like someone's going to flag it.
Yeah.
And be like, hey guys, let's add a couple more black dots. This is looking very Hitler.
Right. There's a checkbox on the copy edit form.
Yeah, dude.
Does it look like a swastika? So now I'm looking at the responses. So there's a lot of like, that's disgusting, hateful. But look at this right here. It's a Hawking cruise, the ancient Hindu symbol. So isn't there? Yeah, there's an ancient Hindu symbol that the swastika is a perversion of, but it's like faces the other way or something like that.
And if you were a bored kid, you'd try to make like a square out of those.
I definitely would. That's a great doodle.
Yeah.
Man, people are just. Here's what I'm getting from these
just
reactions.
Cancel my subscription. That's why
I will give you.
Your subscription, guys.
I will give
no
you
weapons of mass destruction. An over-decade war, countless of soldiers' lives lost, and you're canceling your subscription because this kind of looks like. My God.
I will give you $10,000 if that gentleman was subscribed and canceled because of this. I will give you $10,000. Oh my God, this is start to get all right. Oh, then we get January 6th. The references. Man, look at this. This is just terrible. All right, for people who are listening and not watching, I'm just scrolling through the comments, and again, I go back to my same point from last week.
That these are people that follow Meghan McCain.
Yeah, I mean, okay, if you're Meghan McCain, okay, maybe you're like, I want to build a following. There's a commercial or political value to that. This type of content attracts followers, right? It might be a little slimy, but you get it. I just cannot for the life of me understand why you would be. I'm looking at like, this is the 15th responder. Like, why are you this deadly spell saying I'm ready to believe it wasn't intentional, but I'm not prepared to believe it's obvious. And then Ethel Faust talking about the rotational symmetry. And then,
wait, is that real? The New York Times Games one?
Ooh.
Hold on.
Look at this. No, look at the, but look at the date. Look at the date. 2017.
2017.
Look at this nonsense. Yeah, so they went back and found something. It is funny though. So in 2017, New York Times Games tweeted, "Yes, hi, it's not a swastika. Honest to God, no one sits down to make a crossword puzzle and says, hey, you know what would look cool?" That's funny. That's legitimately funny. But that's from 2017. So they've had this issue, which goes to show crossword puzzles have to be. I learned this from the Will Shortz documentary. They have to be there's some sort of symmetry that the designers like to do.
Yeah.
And so this is a common form of I think like this shape. Sure. That rough shape probably comes up a lot. It's just an artifact of the constraints of making a crossword puzzle.
So funny.
So, all right,
and even like when I saw like there were people on the left trying to dunk on Meghan McCain, and like they'd be like, "For the record, I am very pro-Israel," and then they would have to make their like you would have to preface it. You have to, on Twitter when I was super political, you'd have to give all your like bona fides before you make a dunk, just on the left. So if I'm going to dunk on someone on the right, I'd have to be like, while I am aware of my white, straight, cis privilege, also, Ted Cruz, you're a fuckface. You know what I mean? Like, I would always have to, like, whatever. I used to call it, like, progressive disclaimers.
Well, because you get dunk splashback is what you're trying to avoid. Like, you're coming in the dunk, but then you get the splashback dunk.
Correct.
Of, like, okay, I get it. Dunk splashback is something you have to avoid. I get it. And I'm sure it always works. You carefully do all your disclaimers. Okay.
Yeah, everything was fine for me.
Yeah, and you were happy. So,
yep.
Moral of the story. Oh man, I feel like the internet's like extra slimy this week.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, let's see here. This one's not going to help us.
Something good. Roll the dice.
Here's an article that was trending in the New York Post. I'm sure it'll be fine. All right, here we go. Elon Musk briefly suspends Taylor Lorenz's Twitter account for doxing. Doxing in quotation marks. Oh my God, there's so much internet culture again injected in one headline.
I always assumed if there was a headline that somehow found a way to combine Elon Musk and Taylor Lorenz, just like the pits of hell would actually open. Like that was the code in the lock where you had to put all those letters together, and then suddenly you just heard like a cackle in the distance.
Exactly.
Like, bells start to ring, and you're like, "This is it."
Birds fly by overhead, and Amy Grant emerges from the ground. Yeah. Yeah. Salt Bay ascends to his throne as sort of an anti-Christ type figure. So they've done it. You've done it, New York Post. You got doxing Musk and Taylor Lorenz all in the same. Can I just say
pack of assholes.
Before we get into this, let me just say this page also features why I think the internet is an urgent necessity. Look to the trending now second article. I'm going to read this headline.
Okay.
Man with World War I explosive lodged in his rectum sparks a bomb scare. Hospital evacuated, including a picture of a gloved doctor's hand holding a very large piece of ordnance.
Oh.
That's what we need the internet for. That's what we need the internet for.
We're doing it.
There it is.
Awesome. Cal, it's weird. I know I've been outraged by Taylor Lorenz stories before, but I feel like they've all just become this sort of like gobbledygook amalgamation like in my head of this just like internet monster lady that when someone goes, "Who's Taylor Lorenz?" I just go, she's that, the awful, the reason I'm not liberal anymore. She's like one of those. But I don't remember. I remember like, I think one of the most recent ones wasn't even political, but she like posted a tweet about how like she keeps her thermostat up to like 90 degrees every day or some shit, and everyone was like, "You're a lizard," and then that was like 2 days of the internet. I think she tried to get someone at her work fired for being problematic. I don't know, but I think she's just been like a problem for years. But I can you define for people who don't know? Taylor Lorenz, by the way, that's the better example than Glenn Greenwald. That's the example of like, if you are on social media too much, you know who Taylor Lorenz is. Right. He's just a writer.
Right. So it's a name that either, like for some people, and basically the right, and also some, I think, of the, like, whatever you call it, like the alt-middle sort of new centrist intellectual dark web crowd as well. The sort of like slightly left or slightly right of center, but are annoyed at elite culture. For them, she is a lizard person. All right, so I can kind of explain it because technically we have sort of the same job. Like we're Taylor and I, both exist within the larger world of journalists who write about technology. So she writes about it.
I didn't even know she was a tech.
She's a tech reporter. Yeah. So she writes about it for the Washington Post. I think I have that right. Sort of like I write about it for the New Yorker. There's never
heard one story about her.
That is interesting. Tech. So you didn't even know that. So like she's a hated figure from some people.
I've seen every story. I'm pretty sure like Tim Pool took out like a billboard making fun of her like a couple years ago.
And you have no idea what she actually did for a living.
Never seen her and the word tech in the same room.
Interesting. Okay, so here's the deal with Taylor Lorenz. So in the world of tech reporting, she is of this. There's a group of reporters who sort of emerged in the last 5 years that focus a lot on internet culture, right? And the school of thought from these writers is it's so of the moment and complicated that you have to yourself be immersed in internet culture. Like you are a figure of internet culture. You're in it. You're up to your eyeballs in it, and then you report on it. And so the reporting has more of a like timely, but also more of a subjective type bent to it, more of a conversational type bent to it. So it's very different than, like an old Walt Mossberg Wall Street Journal article on the Apple II, where it's, let's talk, there's this new company and it's grown to this size and here's the new features. It's like, I'm in this world. And the idea is, and there's a couple other reporters in the same vein. All of them have become, it's a controversial way to do it. You attract controversy because you throw yourself into internet culture, so that you can better report on it. So I think that's part of what's going on. So she's a reporter, and, so she's really involved in internet culture and has built up her own brand.
Is she like an agent provocateur? Essentially, like throws herself into it, does some dumb shit, internet attacks her, and then she gets to go as someone who's immersed in this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think, and I don't know her reporting super well, though I am a Post subscriber. I think the issue is she's involved. So like the whole way this particular sub niche of tech reporting works is you get involved in, like, you're like talking to people online. You're on Twitter. You're on these different platforms. You're going back and forth. So she's kind of involved in internet memes and causes and things that are happening and writing about it. And I think it's the collision of the two that creates all of the controversial heat around her. So it's not someone just saying from a distance, for example, this is going on. She'll sort of get involved in the fight. So I think the right and then the sort of centrist right of center crowd doesn't like her because I think she has like a standard sort of East Coast educated coastal city sort of perspective on these type of issues. Like her perspective,
well, again, she's
standard.
Trying to get people fired. She's like, she'll like post pictures of people like not wearing masks, like still on the airplane, and she's like, I'm the only one with a mask. Like it's just like that type of thing.
Yeah, so I think it's this collision of like, okay, this is like every like 38-year-old we know who lives in Manhattan, but she also writes for these big papers, and so it's like this kind of melding. Those two worlds kind of meld together. It's more personalized. It comes across sort of like more subjective, and so I think that so it's like someone on Twitter who also has a column. So I think that's kind of going on, but also I think it's just the case that if you once you become like a fully 3D person online and some sort of figure of power, like you're a writer or something, it really brings in like a lot more hate. Also, like, not to go left wing on it, but people don't like women online. You know what I mean? Like it's there's a lot of that going on. So it's a whole messy thing. So but yeah, so basically I think she's on the standard left wing side, a lot of issues. She's involved in it online. She's tweeting about it. She gets involved in controversies. I don't know this story well. I'm assuming that doxing is referring to the fact that she went hard against libs of TikTok, and supposedly, I think she not on
That's
Twitter.
Right. She
gave the address. Yeah, she named the name and gave the address of the founder. I was trying to look at this a little more. I think there's something about like she does a lot of. She'll really push hard to cancel people, and then when people push back, we'll say like, "Why is everyone being mean to me?"
What I was gonna say.
And like this is harassment.
She's complained so much about harassment. I remember the libs of TikTok one. She complained so much about harassment. And then, straight up was just like, here's who this person is, and is like trying to reach members of, libs of TikTok's like family to like, whatever. And then, but she says, that's part of being a journalist and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And it's just,
but the
just
thing
the
is,
center of all the wrong things, man.
First of all, I think it's the most stressful, like the most stressful job you could have in the world would be like Taylor Lorenz, or to be like Matt Walsh or Ben Shapiro. Like if you constantly have to be like litigating online cultural battles with tweets and this and that, like how stressful, but your career depends on you constantly being visible. I just have empathy for all of them because that sounds incredibly stressful. B, I think as an outside observer, it's actually kind of an interesting thing to have it's a train wreck for them and it's messy, but to have some people that are like completely caught up in internet culture, writing about internet culture as internet culture strangles and drowns them. It's like actually like a kind of interesting from a performance art way of actually capturing the reality of this crazy whirlwind that is internet culture.
Dude, I meet a lot of celebrities who are just like, they're like, I love it. I love going at people and like I don't give a shit. And like
so
I just think me and you don't have that because even when I was doing it, I was who you're talking about. I was miserable. I was having panic attack on panic attack. I was like couldn't put my phone down. But like there are some people, and I don't know if it's just they have this fucking American Psycho part of their brain where they can turn it off, or maybe they're just more mature than me, but they can just go to war all day like playing fucking Call of Duty, but it's real life, and then be like, all right, peace, and go. But I remember, dude, I got into a fight once with Josh Marshall from Talking Points Memo, and I even took a screenshot because he said the exact quote he said to me. I forget what bullshit I said was "fuck you, freedom fighter," and I was like, ha ha ha. But like later he tweeted, I'm like, I was ignoring my partner, right, while fighting with this guy.
Sure.
And then later he tweeted like, all right, I'm going back to the beach with my kids. And I'm like, were you fighting with me while you were at the beach with your children? And I think that's where me and him, right? Like I was in a fucking failing relationship. That's where you have to kind of check yourself and be like, all right, now it is pathological. It is bad. You have to get your affairs in order.
Well, that's where my issue is I have a very hard time sustaining madness at people. I like people. Maybe it's because I don't use the internet. Maybe that would change. But I like people. I can see. I have a very easy time imagining the sort of goodwill that's lurking behind people, getting past what they say.
A more frat boy way to put that is like I'm rooting for a good time.
Yeah, and I like people. Like people are interesting. Yes. I don't know. People are interesting. I think most people are interesting. I think I like people. I have a hard time getting mad. I look at Taylor Lorenz and I'm thinking, it might have been bad for their career, but man, if Elon had done a permanent ban of her from Twitter, from a mental, like she would probably look back at that 10 years from now from a mental health perspective and been like, it's the best thing that ever happened to me. Like she was free. Free. This must be a terror for someone like that.
3 days before Taylor Lorenz was like doing ayahuasca in Peru and like finds God.
Universe is love. Yeah.
Sets her thermostat to a normal person temperature. And she's like, what have I been doing with my life? Like literally like you come out of a fucking coma. The days that and by the way, I want to ask you advice at some point or now. I take Instagram off my Twitter just doesn't exist on my phone, only on my desktop. Like you said, Instagram I have to post. So I've been doing what you told me and I take it off my phone on the weekends. Yeah. But when I was with Tim Kennedy at the range doing all these courses, and this weekend it was the first time I actually had my phone completely off. Much different. Because even when my phone is on, I catch myself going down for Instagram and then being like, oh, it's not there. Or even suddenly if a giant weight comes up, if I suddenly have to go to the mechanic or something, I'm like, oh, I can just re-download the app and then it sends me a code and then I can get back on it. Whereas when my phone was just completely off or away, that's when you have that ayahuasca in Peru. I'm free.
Yeah, like all the time. Look, I'm a big fan of that. Yeah. Don't bring it to the range. Don't bring it to the mechanic, or have the burner phone. Yeah.
Don't bring it on a date.
Don't bring it on a date. Yeah. For God's sakes, don't. Yeah. Don't.
Or with your kid.
Let me ask you a quick follow-up question on that, though.
Yeah.
Is Instagram like Twitter, or is it different?
It's so different.
Nice.
There's different negative aspects to it. So for me, I like it more because for the most part, it's people sharing positive things, and it doesn't move as fast as TikTok. Like TikTok, I was on for 2 minutes, and it was like the first time someone maybe the only time someone offered me cocaine in like a shady bathroom and he was a shady guy. And you just immediately go, I don't want to be a part of this. And I'm just not going to, my life is not going to involve cocaine. That's how I felt with TikTok. It was my friend Kendall Roosing, who's this awesome jiu-jitsu world champion. She just did my podcast. I just did her podcast. And she was like, look, and it was just like new video, new video, new video, new video. And I was just like, how do you do this? And she's like such an emotionally intelligent, rad person. And like, it was her and her sister, and they were trying to explain TikTok to me, and I was like, it was that cocaine thing where I was like, it will ruin me. You will find me in a gutter with like my phone on top of me and like some fucking Asian Korean dance team, whatever. And so, but Instagram at first, I'll say when I go on podcasts, you know, I'm more popular on Twitter, but follow me on Instagram. It's where I'm happier because it's a lot of like self-help memes and a video of like a puppy doing a dance or whatever. I only follow fighters, spiritual people, you know, people who I can learn from. You can get instructionals or tutorials. Where it does get bad is just like all social media, except maybe not Twitter. Actually, this might just be Instagram specific. People are posting their highlight reel.
Yep.
Right. It's like me going on a date and
different issues.
Date and just being like, oh, I played the Sydney Opera House. I did this. I did that. And she's like, aren't you divorced though? And I'm like, we don't need to talk about that. Here's a picture of me at the Opera House. Right. So it's just your hits. So it will make other people. And I'm saying this as a 40-year-old dude, let alone if you're a kid. You look at other people. That's why I post mostly mental health stuff. Like, hey, man, today was really hard for me. I was really depressed. I'm going through this. You're not alone, blah, blah, blah. Because for the most part, remember, I don't follow any negative accounts. There are angry political accounts on there. There are still whatever. But even with that, following just positive people, I'll look at like my pastor posting a Christmas picture with his kids and his wife and be like, I'll never have that. You know what I mean? Like you still have that forced comparison.
Right.
Which you have to be very careful about.
So it's different poisons. So like Twitter, you spend all day on Twitter, you're convinced that we're like 12 hours away from Nazis forcing your kids to gay marry drag queens.
Right.
And you go on Instagram and you're convinced that like everyone got in one last workout at the gym before their Caribbean vacation.
And you're so alone, you're going to be forced to marry a Nazi drag queen because no one else wants you, and you'll never have the beautiful family that all
you're like, I guess it's okay the Nazis are going to force me to do this because I'm alone in the world. Right. And look at how happy. Interesting. Yeah. Okay, so different. And then you're saying and TikTok is just.
And you also do get addicted to scrolling because there's also like, you know, all of my fighters, man, they're posting like Musashi quotes and they're posting get to the gym or whatever. But if you're just scrolling and half reading them, as opposed to you're reading the Book of Five Rings by Musashi, or you're watching a documentary, or you're immersing yourself in something, you're kind of just getting, you know, half digested, repurposed Brene Brown quote. You know what I'm saying? Like and so that's hard too, because you feel like you're doing positive things, but you're not retaining any of it. So you're under the illusion like, well, before you know it, you spend an hour scrolling through self-help memes when what you should have done was take a walk or go to the gym or call a friend.
Yep. You know, I once Brene Brown story. I once spent some time in the green room at Lincoln Center, backstage, just me and Brene Brown. We were both speaking at the same event, and we spent some time together. There's my Brene Brown story.
I would have gotten jealous if you posted that picture on Instagram.
Brene Brown story number 2. Oh, and this event, by the way, this is back when they used to have all these conferences that were sort of vaguely based on blogs, and so I just remember the surly Teamsters who were back in the backstage that were just like bemused and confused, like what the hell is going on here? Like, who are these kids?
Not interested about Brene Brown telling them to like discover their shame.
This is my other, and this is going to make me seem like a completely out of touch, patriarchal, whatever. Yeah. But then, we used to run in a lot of the same circles because I used to give a lot more talks to these conferences. First time I saw Brene Brown, this would have been like, I don't know when this was, 2011, 2012. We were, again, speaking at the same event. And I was there with a couple friends. I won't say their names because they're well known. And she came up and gave her talk. And the crowd was literally dancing. Like, she had them up there dancing. Yeah. And just the energy was off the charts. Like, clearly this is a star, right? Like, she was going to be a star. And I remember turning to my friend, another guy, and saying, I literally don't understand a single thing she just said. Like, I cannot tell you what this talk was just about. And she had the entire audience dance. So I guess it just shows, right? Everyone has their own love language. So that was my first experience with Brene Brown. Was she was clearly on her way to being a superstar, and as a 27-year-old dude, I did not understand what she was talking about.
I've had so many moments like that where I'd be watching some new comic, and I'm like, "This is terrible." Pause. They're going to be a star.
Oh, you could just tell. I could just tell. I was like, she's going to be huge. I mean, yeah. Okay. All right. We got one more story here. Let's see here.
On a high note.
Yeah. Before we bring in our other guest host, Brene Brown, come on. Come on in. Here we go. All right. From Kiss, the band, a tweet.
There we go.
Happy 77th birthday, Peter Criss. We hope your special day rocks. Enjoy. It's good news. Happy Twitter.
News. It's good news. Happy Twitter. You have to dig so hard that it has to be just the corporate intern of the band, unproblematically. There's no take. It's just, this man is 77.
Yep, looks great.
Remember him from the band Kiss. I hope you have a special day. And that's it. Oh, Did I click it because I thought Peter Criss was killed in like a murder-suicide? Of course I did. Of course I did. But it made me, when I see, I don't know the last time I've listened to Kiss, but Cal and I grew up listening to guitar rock. There was a kid named Ben. There was a kid named Ben in our class. Kind of bigger. Do you remember who that was?
Ben. All right, keep going. Let's see if I remember.
Well, I just never hung out with him ever. And just one day he goes, I have an extra ticket to see Kiss. Do you want to go? Ben like Goldsmith or something?
Yes, that sounds familiar.
Yeah. Someone that Will Shortz would not have liked.
Not sufficiently, yeah, exactly. I get you. There we go. I get you.
And we went to see Kiss, I think with Ben's dad. Because again, in high school, you were going to see, I saw Dave Matthews Band with John Evans' dad. I saw Santana with my dad.
Nice John Evans poll. That's a good Pennington poll. My first friend moving to Pennington, New Jersey. Jonathan Evans.
Jonathan Evans lived behind me, and
but before he moved, he lived down the street, 2 houses down from where we. There we go. So first of all, fascinating for our audience. Yeah. I think everyone is loving this.
He was the manager of our high school band, which just meant, guys, if you were ever in a high school band and you had a manager, it was just the kid who you couldn't tell not to come, and he doesn't play an instrument. And so he would just sit there and like one day have dreams of, stealing money from us in a Paul Giamatti NWA type fashion.
Well, and not to go on a tangent here, but we've talked about this before, you and I don't know if we talked about it on the air before, but this is the key with high school rock bands. It's the aura you put off. So the fact that he wanted to be a manager for your band is because your band was cool.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
What was it?
Yep.
Yeah. What's it called? Progressions or something? Am I thinking about the right band?
Oh, you are not. It was a Simpsons reference, which will make you very happy.
Yes.
Pray for Mojo.
Okay. It was Pray for Mojo. Okay.
Where Homer gets a helper monkey, and Homer starts getting the helper monkey drunk and stuff, and the helper monkey's handler finally comes back to get Mojo, and Mojo could only type into a thing, and he just wrote, "Pray for Mojo," and that was it.
Whereas my band in high school, we were technically proficient.
Yes.
We wrote our own songs. We were good at our instruments, right? But I went to Dartmouth. Our lead singer went to Stanford. Our drummer went to NYU, right?
We were the Brene Brown of the high school bands.
Yes. And I was the Cal Newport of high school bands giving a speech about whatever. And so we couldn't, and so we just did not have the right aura. So we actually wrote, I got to find this tape. So I was down at the beach, this as a high school student with our drummer and our lead singer, Chris and Mike. And we had our 4-track recorder with us. And we recorded this. I've told you about this, Jimmy. It's an awesome song. It was a song called Our Band's Unpopular.
I'm so nervous.
It was a great song. We wrote a song about our band called Our Band's Unpopular. We were good. And by evidence is every time we would play at our school at a Battle of the Bands, we would lose no matter what. Yeah. As soon as we left and went to the Princeton Fete, like an open to all bands, Battle of the Bands, we won. It's like we had the chops, but if you knew who we were, there you go.
That's so sad and funny.
It's sad. It's funny. It's of great interest to the audience. But I'm looking at these replies to the tweets, and it's all nice.
It's all happy birthday.
Yeah.
There's no, hey, happy birthday, Peter Chris. Gene Simmons is a rapist. It's like, I mean, probably, but that's not what we're talking about.
That's not what we're talking about here. Here we go. Master, the only Catman ever. Congratulations.
Looking
the
good.
guy looks fantastic. Playing the drums is the best workout you can get. This
Hell
is
yeah,
great.
dude.
Yeah.
The best workout you can get one's kind of weird, but that's fine.
It's weird.
That was
him holding a gun.
That was a drummer who just got dumped because he spends too much time at practice, and he's just like, she saw this. She knows how jacked I'm gonna get.
Yeah, man, it's gonna get my biceps, my trapezoids. All right, this makes me feel good.
I've seen a lot of Potbelly drummers, you guys.
So now I'm kind of really scrolling here. Now I'm kind of curious if there's a.
Are you digging for the first bad one?
I kind of am digging for the. Here's okay.
By the way,
is this a secret bad one? Happy birthday, Peter. Mine is January 6th, soon to be 58. See, maybe that's a little bit of a subtle.
January 6th was like a code. Yeah, maybe. I also feel like if you're looking to say something bad or cancel a band from that era, it's not hard. Like they all probably did terrible things to underage people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so the fact that it wasn't in the first 50 that you scrolled, looking good.
Yeah, so that's happy Twitter. That's like 2006 Twitter.
Yeah.
Where it's like, I'm not really sure what we're doing on here. It's kind of a party. Like, not that many people are
Kiss?
here yet. Kiss is fun. Yeah, this guy's fun. Hey, happy birthday. Look, here's what I ate today. That's great. This is good, right? It's like, look, I made my crossword puzzle look like a swastika. That wasn't easy. I had to align it and be like, it's great. You're like, good. That's difficult,
A lot of alignment involved. So, guys, I hope you know when you listen to this show, we will always try to bring you at least one or two also happy ones. You're going to hear the happy one, and at first you're going to be very suspect, a little bit of Stockholm Syndrome, not really know what's going on, wondering if you're walking into a trap. Sometimes it's just the guy from Kiss's fucking birthday.
Yeah.
And
or a guy has a piece of ordnance in his rectum.
Yeah. I mean, we still made it about
simple stuff.
Cal Sad Band, but,
Yeah.
All
right. Well, we should wrap it up then. So Jamie, tell us about the podcast or your podcast or where people can find you.
You guys, I host a mental health comedy podcast called Advice Not Taken. We're actually doing video now. So since you guys are on YouTube, it would be sweet if you went over to youtube.com/Jamie Kilstein, hit subscribe. You can fucking mute that shit. I don't know. Just give me enough subscribers where I'm getting money. And then Advice Not Taken is on Spotify and iTunes. I'm really proud of it, especially around the holidays. We've been talking a lot about depression and mental health shit and being alone for the holidays, but in a way that's funny, and I talk about what a fucking disaster I am. Once again, you can follow me if you guys are on Instagram at the Jamie Kilstein. And that's it. Cal, hit it.
Yeah, my podcast is called Deep Questions with Cal Newport. I also play in a band called Amy Grant's Haunted Barn.
That's such a good name for a band.
Isn't that a great band name? That'd be awesome. Yeah. So there we go. All right, everyone. We'll try to be back next week or the week after. I guess it's the holidays. So we'll have to figure that
holidays
out.
Next week. But guys, I got to tell you, Cal and I talk off the air about, I mean, to be honest with you, this show will probably go on even if it doesn't get popular because it's so fun. But I really do believe in the show, and I think it could be something cool. And it's a way for me and Cal just to decompress and make jokes with you guys. And we want to get to the point where you start sending us in articles. Leave things in the comment section that you want our producer to get to us and talk about. It's a way that we can talk about politics without it taking over our lives. We can still kind of know what's going on. We can laugh from afar as we're trying to lead happy, healthier, deeper lives. So please spread the word about the show. Review, leave comments, all of that shit you hear on other podcasts.
All right. So enjoy your holiday. Put down your phone. We'll see you soon.